So you're a beat maker, you're a music producer, you're making music, you want to get paid, you're starting to get there, you're starting to pay your bills with music, it's going well, and a company comes along and says, hey, we'll give you $100,000 right now. We're not going to buy your beats, we just want to train them. We just want you to give us permission to train our AI system on your beats. And then maybe 1 to 3 years from now, we're going to launch this system and people are going to be able to generate as many beats as they want that sound just like something you would have made. Would you take that deal? Would you say, yeah, train a platform that's potentially going to replace me for that $100,000? I really need it right now. I think a lot of producers would say yes. I think a lot of producers would take that $100,000. I think a lot of recording artists would take that $100,000. Now, the reality is a little less glamorous. No one's offering producers all that money for AI training, at least not as far as I know. However, there are companies that are paying producers a certain rate per track that they allow an AI company to train them on, and rates vary. Now, obviously, websites like Suno and Udio do not offer any sort of payment for AI training. They just take our stuff, and that's why they're facing these massive lawsuits. However, there are smaller AI companies that are training on data, on music, on beats, and they are getting permission and they are paying small rates per track. Now, when I say small rates, what are we thinking? Are we thinking lease prices? No, lower than that. And you might be thinking, all right, I'm not going to accept cents for AI training my beats. No way. The reason I think a lot of producers would say yes, and the reason I think a lot of vocalists would say yes, is because of the music industry right now, and because everybody now uses streaming royalties as the metric for whatever reason. You hear people talk about this all the time. Why would I pay for a beat when streaming pays? Why would I pay for an engineer when I need 1 million streams just to recoup my money? Why would I pay for a videographer when I need 20 billion streams just to make $1? You hear people using that as a metric, and AI platforms, at least the one that I'm going to talk about right now, are paying producers a lot more than the average streaming royalty rate by quite a bit. Now, it's still not much when you consider that the average streaming royalty is like 0.0035, and then that gets split in several parts based on what your role in the song was, what your ownership percentage is. And if you're the producer, the most you can hope for is probably half of that, which is very little money. But what if you got hundreds of times that? And all you had to do was train the AI platform. I'm going to show you a royalty statement that was posted by a producer showing exactly how much he got paid for training an AI system. And then let's talk about whether or not that's a problem for the future of music production. So stock music libraries are kind of on the chopping block as far as AI is concerned. This isn't about Suno, but it's about a site called AudioSparks. And Logs Beats, I think I'm saying his name right, recently posted this on Threads. He said AudioSparks recently started allowing AI companies to license music, from their catalog for AI training. So now it's a money grab. And I guess this producer opted in and posted his royalty statement. And I guess there's something called RadioSparks, which he's making it kind of seem like it's streaming. He's saying human radio stream, but that's a little deceptive because it's not a stream. It's not like Pandora. It's not like Spotify. It's something internal to AudioSparks system. So with RadioSparks, he was getting like 0.00001 cent per stream, something like that. But with the AI, he was getting about $1.60, so $311.77 for 185 of his tracks, of his beats being trained by this AI platform. And he's saying, well, it's refreshing to see artists being compensated when AI uses our music. I mean, I guess because we haven't gotten anything, but a middle finger from these billionaires. But also, you're training a platform to replace itself, more or less.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know how much it should be worth. I mean, obviously that comparison is not apples to apples streaming to,
Yep.
training. a license to, it'd probably be more comparable to like a sync license or something like that. Um,
I think more
so
like an exclusive beat sale, honestly, because once they take that, that's theirs. You've transferred, or maybe a beat lease. I don't know, because a beat lease, like if you lease a beat to someone, even if they only pay 10.99 for it or something, they don't have the rights to resell it or break it down. So with AI, who knows what they're doing? I don't know
yeah,
what the
I,
what the agreement is. Do I even trust it if I did read it?
yeah. I mean, I think, and it may already exist, but at some point, there will be kind of like an industry standard of what that's worth, right? It could be more than that, could be less than that. I don't know, but that's kind of the risk that you're taking, allowing these companies to train on your music at this point, when there's so much that's not known. But I mean, it
Yeah.
could turn out that maybe he was overpaid, but maybe he's underpaid. No idea. I don't know. I don't know what the going rate is for a song. I mean, for a song to be used to train an AI model. No idea.
I don't either, because like you said, it's tech. It's not even the music business people that are doing this. And your prediction, Dame, was with these company sales and catalog sales, especially with regard to the DistroKid conversation. And I was like, damn, $2.2 million is a lot. And you said, well, yeah, but there's a lot of money in that, especially if this new VC firm or fintech firm, whoever ended up buying the DistroKid majority, they probably are going to try to get DistroKid users to opt into AI training, because clearly someone's paying a lot of money for that. Because you got to figure, if Audio Sparks is paying this producer $1.60 per track, they're getting probably $3 per track.
Yeah. And DistroKid was already a healthy bit, like just standalone business. There's so much recurring revenue tied up in DistroKid,
Mm,
especially because when in the early days of DistroKid, there were so many like add-on fees. Like if you want the ability for your song to like stay up forever, then you paid a certain amount. Because before that, you have to pay every single year,
yeah.
or your music is going to come down at some point. There's little things like that, like a little add-on that people just like opted into, of course, and that'll probably exist for that you don't even look at your account anymore, but there's like $5 here, $6 here for like individual tracks, the little add-on features that you added, so, and they just have millions of users, so it was already a healthy business, but there's definitely plans to extract
Yeah.
more value, and we just have to sit and wait and see what that looks like.
Well,
um
here's the issue though. So everyone's always pushing, adapting to the current technology, right? Things are, it's here, blah blah blah. Every time there's been a major technological shift in the music business, artists have lost. I think there have been benefits to each new development, like fan outreach ability with social media, the dissemination of music a lot faster, the democratization of distribution. But when you consider the big changes in the way music is being consumed, going from physical to digital, there was a net loss of income for the artists themselves. When it went from downloads to streams, there was a net loss of income to artists. When now we're moving from streaming into AI, there's definitely going to be a net loss to artists. So every time we say yes to something to get a little bit of money in the short term and to play the game and to be a part of the landscape so we don't get left behind, we are getting left behind in a lot of ways because they're just working on the next thing to justify paying us a smaller piece of the pie. And that's not to say that there aren't going to be artists that win during each era. There will be. But at a certain point, the pie is just continuing to get smaller, not as a whole, but as is offered to us by the people controlling these systems. I'm not saying the money's going to dwindle. It's still going to be billions and billions of dollars, but more of that is going to be going towards the people who are running the system, especially with AI when it's, you get the training fee. Okay, you're done. We don't need you anymore. Now we have all of those data that we can now create our own projects with. And the benefit of that is there are no royalties going to anybody.
Well, streaming actually brought money back to, like, during the streaming era, like money started, like the industry started growing again. And that was always the fight I would have with, and that's why it has attracted, private equity company finance cats. Like, as I've been telling you guys for years, there's money here. So streaming actually brought money back to music. It's just about how the pie gets divided. I still believe, I haven't been able to find the numbers on this, but I still believe that there's more. I would love to see if somebody can find it. I'm sure maybe it's even easier to find now that we do have platforms like ChatGPT and Claude, but like just independent artists, what's the market size for independent artists, 10 years ago versus today? I would imagine that the market has grown substantially. So, I mean, I know that's not the only factor, but that would lead us to believe that, like, again, still now is the best time ever to be an independent artist. But, with AI and these training models and selling your music to, I don't know. I think it will ultimately depend on consumers' adoption of AI music, right? So if they train these models and they make music that competes with your music, or fans are now just making their own music, then maybe that shrinks the pie for you. But I don't know what, consumer adoption and what's going to happen with these platforms. But I know Suno has a shitload of users. But is that artists making music? Is that fans making music, their own personal music, and they no longer listen to Drake?
Those are good questions. I mean, we could talk about that all day, but we won't. That's certainly something that's being said, though. I did content about this.
What I did see, though, and because I just saw it quickly, I didn't read the whole article. There's it might be a publisher or an author, basically the same issue that authors are having with books being training AI models. I saw that I think there was just a huge settlement or something positive on the author side of the equation, that looked like it mirrored the issues that artists are having with these AI platforms. I think it was a settlement with an Anthropic. I'm gonna look.
Oh yeah, that one. Sure, I remember. It was a settlement, but it wasn't. I don't think it was a legal precedent, so it didn't really help any of the other cases, and nor did it establish a system where artists and authors would be fairly compensated. I think it was just like, all right, here's your money. You good?
They got their bread.
Yeah, exactly.